Hello and welcome to another video by myself, Chris from Sorare on the Budget. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a catch-up video. It's been a little while since I've done my content, so I thought I'd give this a go today. I'm slightly under the weather. I'm feeling a lot better, but I'm still feeling slightly under the weather. And I thought I would give this a whirl and see how we get on. So, in today's video, I'm going to have a little review of the gallery. It's been a little while since I did one of these. Quite a lot of changes recently and a couple of strategy changes. So I'm going to discuss that as well. Also going to touch on the podcast. Myself and Russ at Scotland Sorare started a new podcast 3 weeks ago. Actually, it's almost 4 weeks ago now since we launched it, which seems crazy. But it's been a great success for us as far as we're concerned. All the feedback we've had from it is, that it's relatable content. It's things people can actually get behind, and it's more relevant than, people buying £3,000 cards, and it's more relatable to maybe 90–95% of Sorare users. So we've been launched that, as I say, almost 4 weeks ago. We've actually got almost 3 times as many listens on the podcast as we do follows on the Twitter page, which is interesting. So if you haven't listened to it, or if you haven't followed the page, at AVFTD Pod, and it's A View From The Dugout, and that will, just helps us build up, the community feel with that as well. So that would be, awesome. I'm also going to look forward in terms of where my plans are and what I'm looking at doing. If you're new to Sorare, you can sign up at my link on the screen. It'll also be in the description below, which is sorareonthebudget.com. You'll get your 10 free common cards, which you can use in the casual league, which I'll touch on in a moment. And then when you buy 5 cards from the market, you get your free limited card from Sorare. So just on that, I'm going to quickly switch over to my Sorare account. Now, would it be 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, yeah. I won the casual league, which was quite something. I don't know if I can actually get as far back. I don't know if it allows you to go further back. I think it does. It was week 259, and I won the casual league, which was quite something, which is why I've now got a star above my badge if anybody's looking at it and wonder why that's there. But I won the casual league, and this was the team that did it. It could have been even slightly higher if I'd captained Kimmich instead of Parejo, but still, it was enough for the win. I was over the moon. I won a limited Gonzalo Higuain, which sold for just over 100, I think it was £105, which was awesome. The money was withdrawn and put straight into our savings account for the baby, and it was unexpected. 100,000 entries. I think it was 57 or 53 shy of 100,000 entries were in that competition. Yeah, so there you go. 52 shy of 100,000 entries, and I won it. So that was pretty awesome. But that was able to allow me to withdraw a wee bit of money, which was, is always good, and it's always the goal for me, is to be able to withdraw some money out of the account on a regular basis. So, on that note, just a little review of the gallery. Now, there's one major new thing within the gallery, and that is the limited cards have made quite an appearance. I've been working on something today with those as well, and I've essentially, when the new leagues that Sorare launched, in terms of the specialist league and the underdog league, it kind of gave me a feel for one of the first times that winning cards with the limited cards could actually be a worthwhile venture. I've always felt as though, sometimes you were getting cards that maybe only worth, £5 or whatever, and it didn't seem worth my while. But now in the Specialist League, it certainly feels a lot more worthwhile, especially, when the top 50 are winning, some pretty high value rare cards. So, I mean, there's tier zeros, and that's life-changing money in almost everybody's book. And yeah, so I decided that I want to start entering that. So, and also it gave me a lot of, bit extra fun as well. So I had a couple of big sales recently, and it allowed me just to take a wee bit of that ETH and start to build a team. So I had built two teams around sort of, the Asia element, and now I'm looking at trying to maybe build a bit more of an MLS one, but I'm a wee bit reluctant to spend on the MLS cards when the new ones are going to be launched soon. So I'm trying to build a team for the coming weekend, but at the same time, I'm a wee bit reluctant. But, when the cards are costing, 10 quid or under, it's hard to grumble. So that's where I've been at with this. The Specialist League this week, I think I'm on for a card. It's going to be a tier 3, 250th. It's going to be a tier 3 limited card, which probably will be quite low value, but you never know, especially with the underdog leagues and things like that. It could well be something that can actually fit into, into the gallery and actually fit into upcoming game weeks. And if it's not, I can always look to trade it to try and get something that I do want and something that I could fit in. The team that I entered to, win a card, I counted it up, and the total outlay for this team was under 130 quid. So, and that includes the goalkeeper and all the players, and under 130 quid. I did sit there at the tail end of last week before the game week started. I think it was last Wednesday and Thursday, doing a fair bit of trading with the limited cards, and probably raised about 0.04. So that was about 100 quid I'd raised. So all in all, it didn't cost an awful lot when you take the trading into consideration as well. So it probably only sent me back about 30 or 40 quid to, a net outlay once I got to that point. So I've also got the Champion Asia as a Champion Asia team, which this week I put into the All-Star one. Some good performances, some lower performances. What I've learned is it's still as it was. You are needing some major scores to get into the cards. 2,000 are getting paid. I'm sitting just shy of 300 points and I'm 3,000. So I'm probably about 30 points to 40 points shy of actually getting anything from there. So it's a little learning curve, but I do feel that these new specialist leagues are worthwhile. If we quickly look at the prize pool for the past one there, you see here, the top 3 are getting star rares. Now that, as I say, is life-changing money. Prize pool, look what's in it. All these cards, household names that are all worth significant money. And to be able to have an opportunity to win these cards and a realistic chance to win these cards because of the restrictions on, the various entry requirements, I think it's definitely worth having a look at. My priority would still, for anybody new, would be to say, whilst the thresholds are there, to work towards those. But once I've got that out of the way, I'm then looking to say, probably look at that, specialist league. I did notice on the calendar that the prize pool is going to be increasing to 750 as opposed to 500. So a 50% increase in that, which is why I've again started to have a look more at the underdog as well. So it was just a little bit of a strategy change. It is, giving me some more research to do, which I always enjoy. And, I'm becoming more and more familiar with the J-League players. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of J-League players in amongst that. But I know that I've got from now until November with those cards. So why not, when it's costing, some of them, I think, was it Valdo, 5 quid for a defender that's playing every single week. So there's definite, changes within the gallery. And my strategy is basically I want to try and be competitive in the specialist league. And now I've started to do a wee bit of research around the underdog league because I want to be competitive in that too. So to that end, I started buying some players today. Unfortunately, the goalkeeper that I identified, picked out, bought, went and knocked in an 80 today. As I didn't realize he had a game today, and it's actually put his last 15 average over 46. So that's a wee bit of a problem, which is why he's back up for sale. So hopefully I'll either manage to sell him or I'll trade, and I'll hopefully pick up one that does fit. I did have a few targets. A couple other ones that I've been looking at that I picked up was Omsberg and Chikichi, I want to say. So I have picked up a few boys. I've just had a wee sale, which has freed up a lot more ETH as well. So I'm going to finish out that team tonight. And yeah, that'll be ready to go for the weekend as well. So it's been fun. It's been quite eventful in terms of looking at those avenues. And if I go back to my Sorare account here, my rare teams, this week I spread it out quite a lot because the prize pools are a wee bit different in some of the leagues. So I have picked up some players. I'm needing to probably shed one European forward. I've got quite a few, so I'm probably need to shed one of them and probably pick up another Champion Asia one. But I'm working on that at the moment. I have had a fair bit of luck in terms of some of the cards that I've picked up. I've really picked up in value. Valdo's almost double what I paid for him. And even my big hitter, which is Mao Hasoya, that was a massive purchase for me. I think that's my most expensive purchase outside of a goalkeeper. And he's worth about 700 quid just now. So I'm quite pleased with that. And then my other big hitter, Nakashima, who was on the slide as we first started. Big hopes for him. I just, my biggest hope is that the Continental manager starts playing him as a regular starter as opposed to continually coming off the bench, because he's the biggest threat up top. And he's the only one that's going to get them out of the mire that they're in with 6 draws out of 8 games. So that's my the gallery. A lot of this down to here is a couple of months old. I've been holding on to some of these players and I don't intend on changing them. The European cards, my strategy basically around those is obviously a lot of the prices have fallen off, and I'm not willing to fire sale. I don't feel the need to punt out these players for what will probably end up being maybe 50 or 60% of what they'll be worth in 6 or 7 weeks. A lot of the European leagues will be back in late July as opposed to into mid-August because of the Winter World Cup. I had a look. The Scottish Premier League, for example, starts at the end of July, and then it's going to have a shutdown mid-November to mid-December, late December. So I'm like I say, I'm looking to shed one card so that I can free up some ETH to buy something in Champion Asia. But given that the once the prices boom, I may well be inclined to sell some of the European cards into that boom and then just roll with my Champion Asia cards until, say, September time. And then, buy back into Europe when prices are a bit more reasonable again. I don't know. I'll see how things go over the next couple of months and take it from there. But that's kind of where I've been at with the gallery in terms of, prizes and things like that. I've narrowly missed out on, on the ETH this week. It's, I think I'm missing it out by less than 1/10 of a point, but it kind of is what it is. But the gallery value is still sitting up at a decent amount. I think that still represents about 5.5 grand. Realistically, I know it's worth more than that because the European cards have just come down in price. So I'm just going to buy my time with them. That's really where I'm at with it. I'm just going to buy my time, and then I'll reinvest when the time's right. So in turn, that's where I'm at with the gallery. With regards to Twitter, I just thought I would bring up the. I had it set up, AVFTD pod, View From The Dugout podcast. As I say, only 196 follows, and we're getting, as I say, close to 3 times in terms of the listens. So if you're listening to the podcast but not following the page, this is the page to follow, at AVFTD pod. And yeah, that's where we're going to put a lot of the information in terms of when the podcasts, drop in. It drops pretty much every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock. I've timed it so that last week I timed it so that it went up a little bit early so that it had a chance to roll out to all the platforms. The link on the screen, Anchor FM / AVFTD pod. I've got that in a separate window because I'm logged into that one, so it brings up my dashboard. This is where it'll bring you. And you don't have to listen to it through Anchor or Spotify. We have uploaded it to all the major platforms. So you can listen to Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a couple of other ones, Stitcher, things like that there as well. So, and you can get this at a click of a button. So if you click on the link on the Twitter page, it'll bring you straight to here and you can listen to the podcast. We have 3 episodes so far. What we're doing on those is each week we've been giving out some tips in terms of ones to watch. We've been having a good discussion around, things that are personal to us in terms of, real life football related content. In terms of, it was a Dundee derby a couple of weeks ago, so we had a good chat about that. Russ being a Dundee United fan, myself being a Dundee fan. So we've had a wee bit of conversation about that. We've got great feedback on that. And in terms of, we're talking about, what the latest news is in Sorare and things like that. So, I mean, this week, there's going to be a few topics that Russ and I have both already discussed, just in terms of, one thing we don't do before the podcast is flesh out a podcast. All we've got is bullet points. I want to discuss this. You want to discuss that. Bang. Right. Okay. Let's hit record and let's do it. So what you hear is a non-rehearsed chat between two mates. So, yeah, that's where the podcast is at. And, yep, we'll be having more tips on this week's. Mine, I'm going to try and make even more relatable. I'm wanting to do 5 cards under 10 quid that you could look at on the limited market that would help either the specialist or the underdog leagues. That's going to be my tips for the week. Speaking of which, in terms of the content going forward for this week, I'm going to try and do something every day this week. Now, that's going to be a tough ask. I am still suffering from the effects of COVID. I'm feeling a lot better today, as I mentioned at the start, but my voice is starting to go, even just at this point in this video, it is starting to go already. So I'm looking at doing a limited budget buys for limited cards. And again, I'm probably going to try and keep it under 10 quid because I think other than your goalkeeper outlay, which is still going to be 60, 70 quid, you can build a really strong little team that you could put into the specialist or into underdog that you can compete with. And I think you could do that for 100, 120 quid. And I think that's a lot more affordable to many people. So I think that just broadens my content to everybody to make it even more relatable. So that's the goal for that. I'm also going to do an MLS rare cards threshold video. I'm going to expand it beyond the MLS because there is obviously, we've got the Peruvian League, we've got the Brazilian League that are going to be going on over the summer as well. So I'm going to try and make it, a Champion America video looking at threshold players. And I'm going to try my best to keep that under sort of the 0.05, 0.06 mark per player. It can be a wee bit tricky because prices are still a little bit high. And I'm also, going to say in advance of that video that, you might want to keep an eye on the MLS market because once the new cards come out, you might see a change in some of the 2021 cards because they'll lose their bonus. So you might see prices creep down a little bit, but the new 2022 cards will probably creep up. So that'll be worth having a wee look at there. And yeah, I'm going to figure out some extra things to put up there. I might even do a video looking at my team selections for the weekend and my justifications for it and my reasons for it. They seem to be popular. If that's something that people like watching, we'll have a look at that there too. So I think that's really about it in terms of the oh, no, there isn't. I've got one other thing that I want to look at. This was a new app that I seen today on Twitter, tactic.so. It links through into Sorare. It gives you one of those pop-up boxes, the same as Sorare Data does, where it asks you to authorize it. This actually was really cool. It showed me my total deposits and my total withdrawals in terms of the ETH value. The total deposits, I mean, you can scroll down, they're all the way down. You see the withdrawals at various stages there as well. But in terms of the ETH amount, I deposited 0.22 and I've withdrawn 0.145. And when I deposited, ETH was under £1,300, and at various points where I've done withdrawals, it's been over £3,000. So all in all, it's just validation of everything that I've said that I have done in terms of the deposits was a you know, it was 300 quid. And the total withdrawals, it's exceeded £3,000. And yeah, I think when I seen this today, I was able to be like, bang, I've got a way of actually displaying that and letting people see that this is real. It's not made up. This is purely where the profit has come from. And like, on top of that, 1200 and what would I say, 1.25 or 1.2 profit in terms of withdrawals. The gallery's sitting at 2.3, as you just seen as well. So it's a monstrous amount of money that's been made from that, and it's all been through, you know, as we've always said, research, trading, primarily trading, and just finding those, you know, hidden gems. And that's why I've done the videos and the content, to help share that knowledge and to help others on their journey. So with that, I'm going to probably call it a day on the video. As I said, there's going to be plenty of content this week. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. I think we're at 1,300 now. I've got almost 6,000 followers on Twitter, which is massive. And the one thing I'm going to ask everybody if they can do, I'll put a link in the description, but at AVFTD Pod, please take a wee moment, pop on there, subscribe to the page, and that would be fantastic. And if you could subscribe to the podcast on your platforms, be it Spotify or Apple or wherever, you can click on it. That way you'll get notifications every week when the brand new podcast drops on Thursdays. If you're new to Sorare, as I mentioned, sorareonthebudget.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Sorare on the Budget. DMs are always open. Sometimes they go into message requests. I've just found a whole batch of them in there, so I'll message people back over the next 24 hours or so. And yeah, that's us. Thank you so much for your time today. I will speak to you all again soon with some brand new content, and hopefully it broadens the spectrum of content available to everyone. Thank you very much, guys. I will speak to you all again soon. Take care and enjoy your game weeks.